last week, and that comes in our news highlight segment. And I have my two beautiful ladies who will be serving us the gist, the update, hot and sizzling this afternoon. Now, let me invite Netta and Ife to update us on some of the information they have for us this week. Please, Netta, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good day to everyone, and thank you for joining us on this week's Xspace. My name is Netta Wedozier, and here are the NDLEA news highlights for the week. First, the headlines. 4.4 billion naira worth cocaine seized at Lagos Airport as NDLEA grills 30 suspects. Intercept UK, UAE, Australia-bound cocaine, cannabis, tramadol concealed in body cream containers, artwork. Debate by members of an international drug syndicate that operates between Brazil, Ethiopia and Nigeria to smuggle into Lagos a total of 845 wraps of cocaine weighing 18.72 kilograms has been thwarted, and the consignment recovered by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency (NDLEA) at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport (MMIA) Ikeja, Lagos. The drug consignments worth 4,492,800,000 naira in street value were recovered from two lavatories of an Ethiopian Airlines aircraft during the post-landing cleaning of the cabin of flight ET-900 from Addis Ababa to Lagos on Tuesday, 29 October 2024. The illicit drug consignments were wrapped in 9 polythene bags and hidden in the waste collectors in the two red lavatories of the aircraft, from where they were recovered after the MMIA Strategic Command of NDLEA was alerted about the strange objects. No fewer than 30 suspects have so far been grilled in connection with the seizure. Investigations revealed that the seized drugs were conveyed from Brazil to Ethiopia through ingestion and excreted in Addis Ababa by a set of couriers, while some other traffickers picked them up and attempted to smuggle them into Nigeria through the Lagos airport before their attempt was frustrated with the cooperation of the airline's authorities and other airport stakeholders. In the same vein, attempts by some drug trafficking syndicates to export 2.98 kilograms cocaine, cannabis and tramadol 225 milligrams concealed in body cream containers and pieces of artwork to Australia, United Arab Emirates, and United Kingdom through some courier companies in Lagos were also blocked by NDLEA officers of the Directorate of Operations and General Investigation (DOGI) on Monday, 28 October. At the Apapa Seaport in Lagos, NDLEA operatives on Tuesday, 29 October, intercepted 754,000 pills of tipentadol and acetaminophen 225 milligrams worth 525 million naira in a targeted and watch-listed container from India during a joint examination with men of the Nigerian Customs Service and other security agencies. In the Federal Capital Territory (FCT), a suspect, Mujahid Hamisu, was arrested with 147,000 pills of tramadol concealed in black nylon bags containing plumbing materials along Kwali Gwagwalada Abuja Expressway on his way from Onitsha, Anambra State, on Saturday, 2nd November 2024, while another suspect, Sherwin Abimbola, was nabbed by NDLEA operatives same day with 512 grams of methamphetamine during a raid operation at Giri Junction area of the FCT. In Kogi State, NDLEA officers on patrol along Kaba-Obajana Highway arrested Mercy Ame in a commercial bus traveling from Lagos to Abuja, while a search of her luggage of fake naira notes worth 4,353,200 naira, even as another suspect, Shaibu Dahiru, was nabbed in a vehicle coming from Lagos to Castina along Lokoja Okene Abuja Road on Thursday, 30th October, with 68 blocks of cannabis weighing 27.400 kilograms. A notorious drug dealer, Usman Abba alias Timaya, who has been on the watch list of the Castina State Command of NDLEA, was on Wednesday, 30th October, arrested at Liberty Hotel, Kofar, with consignment of Arizona, a strain of cannabis. Same day, NDLEA operatives in Adamawa arrested a suspect, Augustine DK, with 50.3 grams of methamphetamine at Quarisa Hotel, Jimeta. In Taraba, operatives on Friday, 1st November, arrested Danlami Fakwa at Sabongari, Jalingo local government area, with 49.795 kilograms cannabis, while a total of 561 kilograms of same substance was recovered from a Sienna bus at Ogbese village in Ondo State on Monday, 28 October. A suspect, Kabiru Yusuf, was on Saturday, 2nd October, arrested in possession of tramadol and XO5 at NDA bus stop Kaduna, just as raids in Edo State led to the seizure of 603.6 kilograms and 308.4 kilograms of same substance at Uroe community. While commending the officers and men of the Mutala Muhakeja, the Directorate of Operations and General Investigation (DOGI), Apapa Seaport, Kogi, FCT, Adamawa, Katsina, Kaduna, Ondo, Taraba and Edo commands of the agency for the arrest and seizures of the past week. Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of NDLEA, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, retired, also applauded their compatriots in all the commands across the country. That's it on arrests and seizures. Now, here are some of the wider activities across the country for the week. Over to you, Ifetoluwa.
Thank you, Netta. My name is Ifetolu Wanemi Oni, and here are some of the wider activities across the country for the week. In a determined effort to curb the menace of substance abuse among young people, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has embarked on an intensive statewide war against drug abuse social advocacy campaign. The campaign aims to raise awareness about the dangers of drug abuse and promote a drug-free lifestyle among students and the broader community. On Monday, 28 October 2024, the Lagos State Strategic Command of NDLEA took its wider advocacy lecture to patent medicine dealers in Agboju area of Ojo local government. Adamawa State Command to students of Government Day Secondary School, Sanganare, Niger State Command to students of College of Arts and Islamic Studies, Tonga Magajiya, and Akwa Ibom State to students of Secondary Commercial School, Itok, Etok. Tuesday, 29 October, Semi-Special Area Command delivered a wider enlightenment lecture to students and staff of Amazing Academy, Ikoga Mowo, Badagry, Lagos. Following suit was Osun State Command, which took its wider sensitization lecture to students and teachers of Teniola International, just as the Oyo State Command delivered its wider lecture to students and teachers of Akim Orin Grammar School, Oyo, while Borno State Command paid a wider advocacy visit to the management of Al-Ansar University in Maiduguri, emphasizing the need for collaborative efforts in the fight against drug abuse. On Wednesday, 30th October, SCT Strategic Command delivered a wider sensitization lecture to students of Unique International Academy, Wari, while Ebonyi State Command gave a wider sensitization lecture to students and teachers of Redeemers International School, Abakaliki. Not less than 4 schools benefited from wider advocacy activities across the country. On Thursday, 31st October, the wider sensitization lectures were delivered by the Kano State Command to students of Government Day Secondary School, Bichi, Anambra State Command to students and staff of Angel Gabriel College, Nodu Oka, Tinkan Strategic Command to core members of Ajeromi Fellow Dun Local Government Area, Lagos, Abia State Command to students and staff of Regina Catholic International College, Obey. While the Alternative Development Unit of NDLEA delivered a wider advocacy lecture to parents and teachers of Junior Secondary School, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. To round up for the week, on Friday, 1st November 2024, the Delta Port Command delivered wider enlightenment lecture to teenagers of Living Faith Church, Epan, Warri, while Rivers State Command did same to students and teachers of Community Secondary School, Ula. That's the update for this week. My name is Ifetolu Wanimi, and I hand you over to our host, Mr. Femi, Baba Femi.
All right, thank you very much there, Neta and Ife. Welcome back from the news highlight segments. Let's quickly remind ourselves about some of the rules guiding our engagement on this platform today. Please note that when you seek for to be put on the speaker's corner and we approve of that, please remain muted until after our guest presentation, and then we start inviting individuals. We'll definitely call you the moment you're on the speaker's corner. We invite you to unmute yourself and ask your question or make your contribution. That's the only time you are permitted or allowed to unmute yourself. This is to interaction. Please, let's, as we do every week, let's stick to these rules so that we can enjoy our conversation. Let me quickly remind us about the NDLA's call center. That's one of the great initiatives providing some support services to those struggling with substance abuse from wherever they may be across the country, right in the comfort of their homes. They can dial the agency's toll-free helpline, that is 0800 1020 3040. And they, at the other hand, they have our experts, talking of counselors, clinical psychologists, psychotherapists, as well as psychiatric doctors to support them, to assist them, to listen to them without the fear of being judged or being stigmatized. You can rest assured of that. And then that offers you a lot of support services, especially teletherapy, psychosocial support services, and even if in the assessment they need to check the individual into a facility, they have the map of all the facilities across the country. On their system, they can always refer you, guide you, direct you to the nearest facility to you, and they will follow up with you on your treatment and ultimately support in your reintegration back to your family and your community. That's one of the great initiatives the leadership of the agency is providing to give support to those who may not know how to seek support or who are scared of stigmatization or the fear of being judged. You can rest assured this service is more or less faceless. You can always relate with them, and you rest assured that nobody is going to judge you, nobody is going to stigmatize you. You can do this from any part of this country, right in the comfort of your home. All you need to do is to dial the toll-free helpline, which I called before, and I repeat again, the toll-free helpline to call in case you need support for yourself, for your loved one, your friend, your family member. Call our toll-free helpline 0800 1020 30 40, and then you have support coming your way at any time of the day, be it in the morning, in the night, in the afternoon. This works 24/7. And I would also like to add that this service is language sensitive, meaning that if you cannot speak English or Pidgin English, you can rest assured that our experts would speak with you in any of the three major Nigerian languages, that is Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo. So you really have no reason not to seek help when indeed you need support. So today we will be discussing another great subject, and that is mental health, understanding bullying, physical violence in schools, and drug abuse. I mean, there's quite, we have some nexus there between one wing of this and the other, and that's a major focus, which is substance abuse. So, and at the moment, this is of interest to us because we have the young people, adolescents, right in school at the moment, whether at the elementary, secondary, or even at the tertiary level. All of them are in school, and we know that indeed bullying, physical violence, they are all part of those things that they face in school. And at the basis of all of this, or as a result of all of this, you also have the problem of substance abuse creeping in. So we'll have our expert, we'll have a consultant psychiatrist who will be taking us through this today, and is no other person than Dr. Obatomi Alalade. I hope I got that right. Dr. Obatomi Alalade is a consultant psychiatrist at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos. His education, university education, was at Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Oyo, excuse me, Oyo State, and where he bagged a bachelor's degree in medicine and surgery. He then did his residency in psychiatry at the prestigious Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos. That place is popular. There is a popular name for that place, but let me keep quiet. I don't know whether Dr. Batomi will mention that because of his presentation, but then let me stick to what I have on in his profile. Okay. After his residence, as a result of that, he became a fellow of the West African College of Physicians, a special interest in general adult psychiatry as well as addiction psychiatry. He is a member of several professional bodies, include Lagos State South Team, Nigerian Medical Association, fellow West African College of Physicians, Medical and Dental Consultants of Nigeria, as well as International Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapist. His passion for mental wellness has led him to speak in various corporate meetings, organizations, and religious gatherings with the aim of improving their awareness. He has received several awards, including one from the Lagos State government, on his immense contribution to awareness and promotion of mental health in Lagos State. He loves reading and giving health talks. His profile until it was explained to me why his area of interest is adult psychiatry. I think his wife is into child psychiatry. I hope so. And they are both blessed with two beautiful children. It's my pleasure. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Obatomi Alalade as I invite him to unmute himself while we listen to him spend the next 30-40 minutes discuss our topic for today, that is mental health, understanding bullying, physical violence in schools, and drug abuse. Please go ahead with your presentation, Dr. Alalade.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon from everywhere we are listening to this program. Thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency for the good work you are doing in ensuring that the scourge of drug abuse is taken off, and to improve the mental wellness and association with substance use to the general public. Thank you for the awareness and thank you for the good job you are doing. While reading the profiles, yes, the popular name is Yaba Left.
I wanted you to say that.
Yes, people call it Yaba Left, right? And it's been in existence for over 100 years. Very popular place there in Lagos. Yes, you are right, sir. I'm also married to a psychiatrist. So we do therapy on each other very regularly, right? And she's a child psychiatrist. So it's quite interesting because, like we say, there's no health without mental health. And I'm so happy to be able to just increase the awareness and talk in relation to this topic that we've curated for today. So once again, I appreciate the opportunity, and I hope at the end of the conversation, this will stimulate more discussion, and we see how this can generally help reduce the scourge of drug abuse in the population. So I'll be talking on understanding bullying, physical violence in schools, and drug abuse. Follow the outline where I would introduce the topic and briefly define some terms, including bullying, physical violence, later on drug abuse, schools, talk about the types of bullying, the risk factors precipitating or making one becoming a bully. Then we'll look at the interplay with between drug abuse or drug use and bullying, and then look at some preventive measures, then conclude. Interestingly, November 7 was the International Day Against Violence and Harassment in Schools, including cyberbullying. And so Audrey Ezolo, the UNESCO Director General, while celebrating this day, she said, at school, every child should feel respected, accepted, and safe so that they can learn and develop. Too many pupils are still victims of violence and harassment. And in the age of social media, these problems no longer stop at the school gates, they are present and amplified online. So the International Day of Against Violence and Harassment is used to spur a collective effort to step up the fight against violence and harassment in education. So I found this topic very apt for this day in terms of even celebrating that International Day and trying to now relate and look at it with drug abuse. Now, looking at bullying, most researchers agree that bullying involves the intent to harm and usually an imbalance of power between the aggressor and the victim, and it takes place repeatedly. I'm almost sure that if we ask people to talk, a good number of people would say, "Oh, I experienced some form of bullying at so stages of my life at different places." Today, we are focusing more in schools, but definitely we know bullying occurs in different places, workplace, the home, but the focus today is in school. Bullying is any deliberate and persistent act of aggressive behavior against an individual carried out by a single person or a group of people where the victim has difficulty defending themselves due to an imbalance in power. Very key to note, is usually persistent and deliberate. It's repeated. Sometimes it's not just a one-off thing. It occurs more than once. And it could be by a person or a group of people that the bully find out that they can't defend themselves, so they become a victim, and it's usually due to an imbalance in power. Later on we'll see some risk factors, but let's continue while looking at generally what bullying is. Bullying increases the power. You know why the bully increase in power? The victim loses power because the person is being bullied, and as a result it is difficult for the victim to respond or to cope with the problem. So imbalance in this power could be derived from physical strength, social status in the group, or based on the group size, like if a large number of people are targeting one individual. So from the definition of bullying, we'll discover that it has some three core components. Number one is an unwanted aggressive behavior. It's observed or perceived power imbalance. So I'm more than you. I can intimidate you. I can be above you. I can wrestle you down. And the repetition or highly likelihood of repetition of bullying behaviors. So bullying in schools can be between students to students. It can be between a teacher to the student. And sometimes even we have students to teachers. And someone who suffers from bullying could over time become a bully if not properly managed or properly worked to, because following the repeated experience, some other things may come into play and the bullied person may later on become a bully. We would see more of that later on. Now, there are different types of bullying. Bullying could be overt, which means it is very obvious. It's something that you can almost see that this person is being bullied. And it is covert, which it's a bit more silent. It looks subtle, but it's still a form of bullying. Now let's look at some examples. There could be examples of overt bullying includes verbal abuse. So that includes name calling, insults, sometimes yelling at someone in front of others, repeatedly doing this thing. Don't forget the core elements in the definition. It's repeated, it's persistent, and so there could be that form of bullying in schools. When you are just calling, you don't know anything, you are an olodo. Sometimes I used to remember back then, when we were in medical school, you could just take any form of abuse. It could just be you have sawdust in your brain, you don't know anything. How come? You sure you want to become a doctor? Really? With all this, and repeatedly receiving those form of insults could do something to the self-esteem of the individual, which we'll see later. It could also be physical aggression as a form of overt type of bullying. Hitting, pushing the person, repeatedly kicking, that could be a form of bullying. Threats, explicitly threatening harm or consequences to intimidate someone. It may not be in school, but we know recently there were instances online about, threat to harm or consequences to intimidate someone. That's a form of bullying. And it could occur in schools, in university, in secondary school, where you are trying to say someone should join a cult group. And so you are threatening the person. If you don't join, we'll kill your family. If you don't join, you will be dead before you know it. So those repeated threats are form of bullies, overt bullying. There could also be cyberbullying with the advent of social media, with a lot of us being present there, a lot of children, adolescents, people in school. There's a lot of cyberbullying. People could hide behind the keypads to just intimidate, bully people in form of different areas of bullying. Bullying in terms of what they have with them, intimate relationship, exposing conversations, bullying and threatening. So cyberbullying is becoming more frequent and common. There could also be sexual form of bullying, which is overt, like sexting, inappropriate comments or jokes on the individual, which could also occur in school. So you see a student, secondary student, who has probably started developing secondary sexual characteristics, and you're just like, how old are you? Just 10-year old. You already have this, you have that. And that could be a form of bullying because you are intimidating the person, you are harassing the person based on what the person carries. Now, there are covert forms of bullying. Those are overt examples. In covert, it's often more difficult to recognize, but it can be equally more damaging, especially as it often isolates the target in more subtle ways. So what are examples? Social exclusion, subtly leaving someone out of a group activity or discussion. So we have a group work in school, and in the group, we are a group of five. Four of us are a clique, and the teacher added one other person to us. And we're like, what is this person doing? We just stylishly leave the person out of discussion. We could form a group, a WhatsApp group where we talk, and we leave the person out of it. Social exclusion. You want to discuss the time, you want to plan towards the assignment, they take the person off and say, don't call the person. And the person is surprised because it's socially excluded from that group. It could also occur when there is an imbalance in social status. And you just say, oh, this person does not fit into this. That's a form of bullying. Gossip and rumors. Spreading false or hurtful information behind one's back. That could also be a form of covert bullying. Sabotage. Deliberately withholding information or resources to undermine one's success. So this could happen, you need this book to be able to succeed, you need this lecture, you need that, and we are withholding that information. A lecturer is withholding it just because he doesn't want you to have a A, and he's not giving you what you need, the course requirements. Or in schools, they are not telling you what you need to succeed, or they see an opportunity for a scholarship based on, and they don't want you to know about it. They want someone else to know about it. So a form of sabotage, despite you being qualified. So deliberately withholding information or resources to undermine someone's success is also a form of bullying. Now, there's been quite a lot of examples of bullying in schools in Nigeria. I'm not going to be very specific about the names of schools, but we remembered one happened in Abuja at some point in which involved some secondary school students, slapping this one, intimidating, involved parents, even went high up to involve the government in between. That was a form of bullying in school. There was a private university in southwestern Nigeria in which a boy was really bullied in the university, and I think it also led to his death, where he was being beaten, physically abused in the university. That's also a form of bullying, and there were other schools in southwestern Nigeria, secondary schools, where we got information about things happening within the school, bullying a fellow junior secondary school student. Interestingly, for those that attended boarding house, you remember when you were in GS class, you will receive a lot of bullying. Go and fetch water, go and do this. They are intimidating you, and they will be telling you, don't worry, when you get to SS class, you too, you can do your own. For such a student just growing up in JS1 and the first day of resumption in a boarding house, all your provisions are taken, and they are telling you that's the way life is. That's a form of bullying. And so when that person gets to SS2 or SS3, repeats the same thing to the newcomers and say, well, that's the ritual. As much as it may be, in quote, a ritual over there, that's not right, because it's a form of bullying to that individual, and that could increase the trait of bullying in the bullied, so that later on the bullied becomes a bully himself. So bullying left unchecked due to lack of awareness, sometimes inadequate reporting mechanisms, and a culture of silence that perpetuates the cycle of abuse. So let's quickly look at the prevalence of bullying all around, right? Globally, peer-to-peer violence in and around schools, ultimately 150 million students between the ages of 13 and 15 years, and around 1 in 3 students in this age group that results in physical fights. A data from the International Behavior of School reported that in sub-Saharan Africa, about 48% of students experience bullying as compared to 43% seen in North Africa. Now, nearly one pupil in three worldwide says they have been physically attacked at least once during the year. Cyberbullying, like I mentioned earlier, is also increasingly widespread, is now affecting one child in 10. And these phenomena definitely have serious consequences for the mental health of the pupils. Girls are particularly vulnerable. Men usually perpetrate more of the overt violence, which is also a type of bullying, and girls usually perpetrate more of the covert one, like social exclusion, leaving someone away from a team. So, bullying, like I said, is most common between the ages of 12 to 15, but it can cut across all groups. For instance, there are people bullied to join cult groups in the university, which is also a school. So it cuts across all age groups, but commonly seen around the age of 15. And males are more likely than females to engage in physical bullying behaviors. Research also suggests that males are also slightly more likely to be the targets of physical. I mentioned earlier, it's sometimes due to power imbalance. The United States Children Fund discovered that physical violence accounts for about 30% of the major victimization in children. And in Nigeria, the estimated prevalence kind of have a very wide prevalence, between 21 to 82%, but the majority of the prevalence, and it's commonly seen within the ages of 12 and 17 years of age. So what are the potential risk factors to bullying? Now, I'm going to take it looking at biologic, moving to the psychosocial stressors that could lead to bullying, and then later on we cone it down with the nexus of substance use and substance abuse. Now, we cannot overemphasize the role the home environment plays, and a lot of children model what they see. So if the child is growing up, and we see it a lot in the clinic amongst our patients, is an aggressive father who beats the mother, the child repeats the same thing in school. That's exactly what my dad does to my mother when he tells my mom to not talk. So why is she talking? So repeats the same thing based on what he has seen. Oh, the mother is very abusive, verbally abusive to everybody. So the child also comes and say, any small thing, I can abuse you because that is what I see. So modeling plays a very big role in bringing up bullies, so to speak, if the home environment is toxic or also breeding that kind of thing. When the child also sees the father probably after drinking alcohol or using any form of psychoactive substances, then gets aggressive, then gets to fight, that could also encourage the child to say, oh, man, so I can also use this thing when I want to feel a bit more confident or when I want to fight someone. And that could be a way of modeling. And it's interesting to know that modeling starts at a very, very, very young age. You will be surprised that the children are already seeing, observing, and looking at how these things will happen. Some studies says that a less religious parents may sometimes predispose to bullying. Maybe explanations to that could result as the fact that religiosity might some quote and unquote morals or standards and values to follow. Childhood trauma of being bullied could also be a predisposition to becoming a bully. So, like I mentioned, the issues in schools, seniors punishing juniors for no reason, taking powers into their hands, enjoying the fact that they are saying, cut the grass, crawl on your feet and everything, wait for your time. All those things. If there's a lot of traumatic event that the child has gone through while growing up, that could just strengthen the resolve to become a bully later on. Male gender, because of the power imbalance, like I said, most times believe that a man is strong, is the head. I've seen parents who will say, so he beat you in school and you are coming back home. Why are you coming back home? You should go back there and beat. So what did you do? You were just looking at him. No, you fight back. All those kind of encouragement then breeds in more bullies. And in case the child cannot fight back, then he thinks of what can make me more confident to be able to fight, or what do I cope with? And that's where substance abuse or substance use could come in, which we'll see shortly. Parenting styles could also affect or lead to coming up with a child that then can become a bully in school to other students. There are different types of parenting styles: permissive, authoritarian, authoritative, neglect. If there are some neglectful parents or permissive parents, sometimes if the child can just do at will and there are no punishable measures while the child is growing up, it could lead to conduct disorders. The child could become a bully over time. So parenting styles could also play a role in actually making children become bully and then perpetuating the act of bullying in the school. There are children that have personality traits, or after the age of 18, already fully formed personality that may be tended towards bullying. For instance, someone who has an antisocial personality trait or personality disorder, that's a nidus to almost becoming a bully because of the personality traits. Some people also, because they have dependent kind of personality traits, they may present themselves to be bullied because their personality is that of being dependent, is that of not being able to stand. You need somebody to help you. So the person could bully all around because of their personality trait. And so that could also be responsible. Those that have some physical illnesses could also face bullying. For instance, I have a physical disability, and then because of that, they are bullying me. It happens a lot in schools. I say, see how he's very fat. Can you see him? Or he's too tall for the class. That's a form of bullying. For maybe the parents are tall and he inherited that gene, and then you are saying, what class is this boy? He's in primary 6, he's in JS1. See how tall he is. Are you sure he should be in this class? All those things. And children start making jests, and the person might start feeling getting affected, which can then lead to low self-esteem. And then the person start thinking of how to cope, and substance may come in handy because of that problem. So sometimes physical traits, so to speak, could also be a cause. People that have for instance, maybe sickle cell disease, or have polio, which has been eradicated now, that could predispose to being bullied by another individual. Also, those that have learning disabilities, oh, you don't know book, you are no good, you are not catching up, those are subtle verbal form of bullying that could affect an individual. Then substance use in itself, which I will show much later in a while, could also be a nidus to being a bully. So by using different psychoactive substances, the person becomes a bully. So I smoke marijuana, which helps me. I feel more confident. I get high. And then I go bully anybody that I feel is intimidating me. And that's why for university settings, sometimes you see cult groups, before they go for their clashes or they want to go intimidate someone, they're already high on different form of substances. So substance use in itself could be a precursor to being a bully. Then we mentioned earlier social media and the effect it has. Social media is also making people becoming bullies, because you see the way people respond to each other on the social media space. You see the way things go, and you feel, well, I'm behind a keypad, I can press anything. And sometimes on social media, I just wonder when some people see the person responding to them, so to speak, and they'll be like, wow, so I've been chatting to this small child, so to speak. And so from there, if we are not so careful, the way they attack students, the way we interact, could also lead to bullying in amongst people, and even especially in schools. So some of these things could be possible risk factors. There could be more leading to bullying, but I just decided leading to one becoming a bully, but I just decided to highlight these ones. Now, what are the different consequences? Bullying has led to a wide range of unfavorable outcomes. It includes physical illnesses. So when someone is physically abused or faces a violent attack, it could lead to pain, it could lead to fractures, damage to various body parts. It could also lead to poor academic performance, poor school engagement, lower academic self-perceptions, and it could lead to mental illnesses. So I get anxious. I don't want to go to school. And you're wondering, why is my son saying he's not going to school? Or why is he afraid to go to school and is worried and is feigning being sick? Is it because he's being intimidated or being bullied in school? And once you keep forcing him to go and he's not telling you what happened in school, he can go to substance use, which would help him to cope and which will help him to face the aggressor sometimes. So bullying could lead to a lot of mental illnesses. It could lead to depression. It could lead to suicide because I feel I'm being bullied regularly by a group I am powerless over, by some cult group, by some people intimidating me, by being socially excluded. Okay, I think it's just best for me to kill myself or commit suicide. It could lead to sleep disturbances in the children. So they can't sleep well, they're having nightmares, dreaming of the person that is intimidating them or bullying them in one way or the other. Could lead to post-traumatic stress disorder. It could also lead to substance use disorder. So we could see the trend through which bullying can affect the whole spectrum of health, especially mental health, leading to all these problems, including substance use, which is now where we would come down on to round off the session. Now, when someone is being bullied over time, at some point, the person might just feel, okay, I need to stand up for myself, especially if he doesn't have a loving home or a way to report whatever is been happening. Or if he has a peer that influences him to say, you are not serious, so because of what they are doing for you in school, that's why you are now sulking up. Don't worry, I know what to do. Just take this, just smoke this. It will help you. You'll be able to face them. I've managed a lot of students, university students, and things they would naturally by themselves not do after getting high while smoking different psychoactive substances. They face anybody. When they get calmer and you are managing them and tell them that you threatened your mom and wanted to kill, they say it's not possible. But this is your mom, she's saying it because you were under the influence. So when you're under the influence, there's more confidence to say things you will naturally not say, and you are not afraid. And so when people get bullied a lot, substance use could now come into play. So what is substance? A substance is when taken into the body is something that affects the central nervous system, and by this we refer to the brain and the spinal cord. Substance alters the way a person thinks, the way the person feels, perceives, and behaves. So it just changes the way you see situation. So why am I scared? It changes the way the person perceives and behaves. I get more confident. There's no need for me to be afraid. And so it affects the normal functioning of the body, normal functioning of the brain, and it has a very high dependence liability in the individual. Now, there are different forms of psychoactive substances, which I believe some of us already know, but just to quickly run it down a little bit and how it works or what it does to make people run into it. So the substance use in itself and the relationship here is as a form of coping, as a form of managing the bullying, as a form of escaping from being bullied, as a form of facing the aggressor. And the individual now comes to find substance use as a solace. And just from that small step of let me find this as a solace, the person can over time become dependent. The school child, the child you send to school can then become dependent on it. So there are different substances, and based on some very easy classification, we call some stimulants, right? Stimulants include things like cocaine, like amphetamine, ecstasy, but stimulants, they make them more overactive, talkative, and confident. So I'm not afraid again. And even the aggressor or the person bullying another person will be surprised at the level of confidence of the victim when the person has taken some form of stimulants. So you can face the person in the eye, you can face the student, and you are not afraid. And that feeling alone of being victorious against whoever is bullying you can make the person take more of it to say, wow, I love that feeling. So I could face my aggressor. He ran away. He could not talk. He could not beat me. I was able to beat him. It could stimulate another feeling of, I want to experience that again. And before we know it, it could lead to dependence, which I'll show shortly. So those are stimulants. There could also be depressants, things like marijuana in its different forms with his different street names, SK, Arizona Loud, Colorado, and co. Alcohol use, use of different form of tablets, benzodiazepines, which helps the person relaxes and leads to some form of disinhibition. You are relaxed, you are numb to whatever is happening, like whatever the bully is doing, you are not even feeling it. You are calm. And when it's taken in excess doses, sometimes you now become so confident and even could be aggressive in the whole process. There are also opioids in different forms: heroin, codeine, tramadol, morphine, buprenorphine. All these things give some form of drowsiness and analgesia, and for some other people, euphoria. So just makes me happy. Yes, he bullied me, but I'm high. I'm happy. I'm not even feeling it. I'm not even seeing it, because that is taking the person away from the current situation, and he really does not care whatever form of bullying is happening at that moment. There are also hallucinogens, right, which alters the person's perception. Things like ketamine, LSD. These are hallucinogens that the school child could get involved in, and what makes the person goes there because of the bullying. Yes, there are several things that could lead to substance use, but the focus today is bullying among school children, which is just one out of several things. So the child could go on to the substance use, possibly because there's no avenue to say I'm being bullied, possibly because he has observed that a lot in the home environment, possibly because there's no teacher to listen, possibly because there's no anti-bullying policy, or the question is, even if I report that cultists are coming after me, who wants to help me? What would the school do? How would they help me? And so let me resort to either joining them or also taking substances such that I can face them and then fight for myself. So over time, with the substance use, getting some confidence, giving some sort of better, in quotes, better sense of self, and improving the person's self-esteem, it could now lead to dependence. So the person experimented. He just tried it. The friend just said, okay, just take a drag. After a drag, you'll be much better. You will even feel whatever they are doing. You can face them. Because of the feeling, the person can go for another one. Oh boy, how far? These guys have come again. Oh, I beg, I get another drag. Can I get another one? And then he takes it. And so dependence could now start setting in. And what is dependence? It's a compulsion, so to speak, when the person just wants to take it, right? It takes the substance is given more priority than every other thing. And so the person sees substance use much more than his academics. He sees substance use much more than every other thing that could be important in the student's life. And so there's a compulsion to take it. It now becomes a thing of, I have to. Oh, can I quickly get it? Oh, go under the bridge. Who is selling weed here? And you just have to take it to have that high, to have that feeling. Again, there's difficulty stopping, difficulty controlling substance use behavior. So even when the student catches himself to say, I'm not smoking today, oh, I'm not using tramadol today, before you know it, he has gone for it. He can't control himself, because once the withdrawal sets in, which is also a sign of dependence, a person just needs the substance again to stay alive, to get back to, in quotes, the steady state. So to show dependence, sometimes there are withdrawal symptoms. So I'm very dependent on a lot of tablets, opioids, and then when I don't have it, I start yawning, I start lacrimating, I start having a lot of diarrhea. To combat that, I quickly take more. And at some point, there could be tolerance. So one wrap of marijuana is no longer enough for me. Now I have to increase to 2. So maybe one wrap will give me that high it usually gives me. But now one wrap doesn't give me again. So now I'm using 2. Oh, after 4 months, now I'm using 5. So there's an increment. That's tolerance. And tolerance could also come in the form of swapping. So you hear some of the students tell you, oh, doctor, I started with SK. I was using Arizona 2 at some point, but now I've shifted to loud. And you say, why loud? It may still be the same one wrap, but that's more potent. So that's tolerance, having to now shift. So it could be an increment in the same amount being used, or a shift to a more potent one, and tolerance could set in. Now the person continues to use it despite the harm. Chairman, the consequence of this thing, it could affect you. It could affect your education. You won't finish your secondary school. You won't finish your university. It's like, oh, no problem. Let me just continue to use it. And so consistent use despite obvious harm to the individual, and the person keeps using it, neglecting alternate source of pleasure. So come and do something else, come and face your academics, is non-bothered. You see a lot of university students, they're no longer going to lecture because of the substance use one way or the other, already dependent on it. So bullying could then lead to that. And so the interplay between substance use and bullying is bi-directional. Bullying could lead to the use of substances, abuse of substances, drug use, and drug use could also lead to bullying. It's both ways, because when I am abusing different substances, even if I'm not a bully, at some point the effect of those substances could make me a bully. It could bring out some other traits inside of me. It could make me start disrespecting rules, disregard for people, just shouting, yelling, irritable to them, and then I become a bully over time, repeatedly causing harm to some other persons. So it goes both ways, and that is why we need to work and see how bullying can be tamed or reduced to the barest minimum, so that that aspect of it leading to substance use will be taken away from the school, will be taken away from the students, so that they will be much better, and at least we'll know that that area is taken off and substance use can then reduce. So there are different ways in which we can, and everybody has a role to play. Part of the role is the awareness. I was listening to the news bulletin that was being read, and I was really impressed at different schools that were the different awareness program done by NDLA in different schools by different states command, which is quite impressive. And these are part of the preventive strategies, because we all know that the best level of prevention is abstinence before the person starts. And so we need to quickly work on some of these bullying traits when seen, and all hands are to be on deck. So in preventing bullying so that it doesn't lead to substance abuse or substance use disorder, it involves a commitment to create a safe environment where children can thrive, where adolescents can thrive, where people can thrive in the university, in the community. They can thrive socially and academically without being afraid. So everybody has a role. The parents have a role, the teachers have a role, the students have a role, the government have a role. Everybody has a role in working and preventing bullying. The teachers have to be more knowledgeable and observant. You have to be able to know what happens to your students. That's why some people probably prefer, we don't have too many students in the class, so that we can know who is who and what is what. Observant to know, aware that bullying could happen anywhere in schools. It could happen in the bathroom, it could happen in the playground, crowded always, even school buses. So they have to be observant enough to do that. They have to be observant enough to monitor, to know what is happening. They should emphasize in schools that telling is not tackling. So because I tell, because I report, that does not mean I'm going to have adverse consequences, because sometimes the fear is reporting. The fear is, what would they do? The fear is, if I report him, is of more higher social status than me. The father is going to call the school and give them a query that what did their son do? And so because of that influence, I'll feel powerless because of that social imbalance. And so I don't want to report. So the teachers must emphasize that if they observe bullying, they will immediately intervene, inform the appropriate school authorities. For students and parents, they also need to be part of the solution, right? Students in schools can inform their parents, they inform adults about what is really going on. They can also inform about new technologies. Sometimes not all parents are well aware about cyberbullying, aware about different ways in which people could bully online. People could share, one way of bullying really could also be sharing different images, spreading false rumors on the individual. So we could let our parents know and be more aware about all these things. Teaching students to be more respectful, engaging in positive behavior, respect for rules. Older students can serve as mentors. Something that is missing in a lot of schools nowadays is mentorship. Having to guide someone through the process, wherein the person is more confident to tell you things, to move with you, to mold the person and shape the person to be a better individual in the society. We need to set positive expectations about behavior for students and for adults, creating anti-bullying clubs, anti-bullying society, anti-bullying documents in the school. You are resuming in the school, you are signing a document. You are reading through to know these are the policies, the do's and the don'ts, what is expected, what is not expected. If you are caught, these are the consequences, so that people are more aware and know what is expected to be seen. Parents should also know the signs when a child is being bullied. You must observe the child to know, okay, is this child being bullied? Signs could include ripped clothes. Why is the clothes just rumpled? Why is the clothes a bit torn? Why is the clothes not the way it is? Hesitation about going to school. This boy does not want to go. Why is he not wanting to go? Most times he's always happy to want to go to school. What's the problem? Is anything happening? We must be observant. Like I say, yes, we are trying to get a lot of money, working to make money, but at the same time, we should not do that at the expense of our children. We should also be very observant. Why is he hesitant to go to school? Why is he not eating like he used to eat before? It's not everything that is malaria. We need to look inwards. Is something happening? And that can only happen if we are friends to our children at different levels in their growing up stage, either secondary school, primary school, university, to be able to create an environment where communication is key, where you can see anything like being introduced earlier without being judged. Okay, this is the problem. I need help. When we create and inculcate that environment, it would help everyone. So when we see frequent nightmares, child just waking up and crying, and why are you crying? What's happening? That those could be pointers to say, is this person being bullied? And when it is quickly addressed at that stage, it could prevent it from leading to drug use or drug abuse. General signs of depression: I'm not happy, I'm sad. There's poor concentration, drop in academic performance. Why is the academic performance dropping? Is anything happening? What's the problem? I managed a university student who said he was really bullied by the guy who was a cultist. And when that cultist was finally expelled from school, that was when his grade starts to improve. But he could not mention it to anybody that this guy is really bullying me. Collect his money, tell him to call people, call his family from home, that he needs more money. He's in a private university, and started getting his money. When they expelled that guy that was bullying him, his grades that semester were the best all through his university. And it was like, until when they expelled him. So sometimes when grades are dropping and falling, it's not all because the child is not brilliant. There could be social issues, there could be bullying undergoing or happening all around that we need to pay attention to. So if we see a child being bullied in school, we don't need to tell them to, let it go. You are a small boy. You cannot even defend yourself. No, we must have open-ended conversations with them. And we are doing all this to prevent a deterioration or it leading to drug use or drug abuse. Let the child know that you will help them, and they should not try to fight back. Rather, they can be assertive. Because one thing we need to now build and inculcate in students in schools while talking to them is the ability to be resilient, ability to be assertive in the face of fear, and then report appropriately. You should be able, when we build that skill, and it's a skill, it could be learned. Some are naturally like that. Others need to learn this habit of being assertive, of being resilient in the face of adversities or in the face of being bullied. Children should be taught how to handle bullying. Like I mentioned, if you are going to give your child a cell phone, so to speak, because of cyberbullying, we must think very well before allowing them to have the camera option, especially those in schools. Some will argue to say a secondary school student should never even have a phone. That's an argument on its own. Some will say, oh, no, it should. But regardless what side of the divide, if you are given, you must have some level of control. For instance, if you are watching DSTV, we know there's control there, parental controls. Same should also happen here. You will insist that phones are kept in public areas. You have the timing, the person can press the phone, eliminating nighttime use of the phone, inappropriate messages. You must be able to follow through, monitor text messages, and look through, or else gradually bullying, from the definition, which I would emphasize, is repeatedly done. It's usually not a one-time thing, usually. And so if you can quickly catch it when it's starting, it helps the person. And so parents must learn to just check the phone occasionally, look through, have some certain control on the use. And bullying can be reported in school. There's no, if the school has an anti-bullying policy, then that can be worked upon. Make your own bully free. While telling us the risk factors, I remember I mentioned that the home environment being toxic could also lead to a child becoming a bully. So we must also work on it. Children learn behavior through their parents. So we must be very careful as to what we allow them see. We must be positive role models for the children. And these are ways in which we can stop bullying before it starts. We must also work on children that have personality traits of being dependent, of having low self-esteem. Because yes, mental illnesses, when it starts at a young age, could also predispose when someone's self-esteem is low, or when somebody is going through a depressive phase or a depressive disorder, that could also predispose. So we must look out for all of these things so that they are quickly managed to prevent it. Children with low self-esteem they are often bullied to sometimes feel better about themselves. The children with low self-esteem often will bully others sometimes so that they will feel good about themselves because their self-esteem is low. So all this needs to be addressed to help. For students, they will report bullying. Universities having anti-cyberbullying, anti-bullying policies, different clubs, and even the government also needs to have a lot of anti-bullying policies wherein, from the government level in schools, Ministry of Education, to say this is what we're happening, and that guides some of the unity schools or some of the universities, so to speak, so that people would know what is right and what is wrong. In conclusion, students who experience bullying may feel overwhelmed, depressed, or anxious. If a child or student is having trouble with bullying at school, it's best that the person presents to discuss either with the parents, if it's more than that, discuss with a therapist, discuss with a psychologist, a psychiatrist, as need be, so that it is quickly addressed before it becomes a substance use problem as coping. However, if we have any one of them who is already now dependent on substance use, there is always help. As stated earlier, there are different tool lines, there are different hospitals managing children with that. And we could discover later that the source of being dependent on the substance use may be because of the bullying, maybe because of the personality. So we should learn to seek help, learn to speak out, and not hide these things underneath. Thank you very much for listening.
Very well. Thank you very much, Dr. Obatomi Alalade, for that awesome, extensive, and detailed presentation. Indeed, it's an all-encompassing one. Good breakdown there. We must appreciate you for that brilliant presentation. Thank you once again, Dr. Obatomi Alalade, consultant psychiatrist at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos, popularly known as Yaba Left Lagos. Now that Dr. Alalade had said it himself, so I have the license to use that same description. Thank you once again for that presentation. Now, quickly, let's run through some of our recognition, some of our compatriots already. On the space with us, we have quite some others on Facebook and on YouTube. But for those on Xspace here, let me quickly acknowledge Anna Sheu Idris. Thank you, Anna Sheu Idris. We have drug abuse and illicit sex. Thank you. That's a regular member of this platform who always join on the handle of that NGO. We also have Farouk ATK. Thank you, Farouk. Husseina Idris, Obabola Shikemi. Thank you. We also have a senior member of this platform. That's Dr. Abdullah. Dr. Abdullah joins on the handle of Essay Mental Health Foundation. Dr. Abdullah is of the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital, Zaria. Thank you, Dr. Abdullah. He's also a consultant psychiatrist there. We'd also have a senior member of this platform, Dr. Asiya Adamubu. Thank you very much, madam, for coming around today again. We have Ahmad, that's at one pen. Thank you, Ahmad. We have Prince Shimokai. Prince Shimokai is a US based, but currently working in Asia. Thank you, Prince. We have Abdulaziz Bello. We have Aderi Sola, Buka Madu, Kenny at Omokende, NDLA Delta Command, NDLA Kitty Command. We have Ruth Yaba, my colleague here, Shidi Unduku, Pascal Iwebu, Benga Wonubi, Shola at I Can Explain Book, Mohammed Abubakar Amtabu, Mohammed Bafo, Shima Obi, Ibrahim Kuro. Ibrahim Kuro is a regular member of this platform. Irene Okeshuku, Obato Singh, Dantoro Ibrahim Sani. I also have seen Loretta there, Dr. Loretta Ekanim. Dr. Loretta joins us from Chicago, Illinois. We also have Winnie. We have Titi Layo Eme Udo Afia Jimeta. We have Dr. Links Adewale Adeagbo Aina Oluwafemi. We'll continue to recognize more people as time permits as we go on. But quickly, let the conversation continue. We've listened to Dr. Alalade speaking in the last more than 40 minutes, extensive one indeed. I have quite a lot of questions in our DM. Where do I start from now? Okay, let me start from, okay, for those who want to ask questions, for those who want to make contributions, please let's do them quickly. I have a lot of questions in my DM to read, but for those, okay, maybe I should have Ibrahim Kuru first, and then I go to our DM. So that Ibrahim Kuru, quite a while. Are you?
Yes,
Yeah. Very well.
Yeah,
Glad to see you.
Thank you very much. I've been
Please go ahead
for a
with
long
your
time.
contribution. Yes, I know.
Yes, my contribution, especially, it's about the building confidence, like using psychoactive substances to build confidence. We used to have that belief way back that if we take, especially rough, in school, it builds our self-confidence. Like we could face anyone, be it teachers or students or anything. So it's something that is rampant in secondary schools, I think. Like they just take this pill or take some alcohol and think, okay, you can face anybody. Unfortunately, I tried it once and the result was bad for me because I got beaten up by the person. Then I think it's something that the drug clubs or the anti-bullying clubs in school should actually explain to these kids that this is a myth. You can have confidence in different ways. Then number two, it's about confidence building when it comes to the parents. I know a lot of us, especially male parents, think that okay, if your child should come and report to you that he got beaten in school or he had a fight in school, you tell him to go back and try and win the fight. As in, you put that sense of machoism in him that okay, how can you come and be reporting? You are a man. Go and do this and do that, and at the end of the day, he might end up he might succumb to drug use to cope with that thing. So it was a quite good session today. Thank you for the speaker. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you very much there, Ibrahim Kuru. Ibrahim Kuru is a regular member of this platform and he's been guest on this platform before. Dr. Alalade, I'm sure that should pass. Just adding, aligning with what you have said and also giving his own personal experience. So let me go straight into a DM. I have this one from Eno. Eno is... I must appreciate our guest speaker today. Thank you for breaking all of these subjects down in just one presentation. My question is, with our young people spending most of their time online, how do parents prevent or insulate their kids from online bullying, which is already rampant, especially given the fact that most parents under current socioeconomic pressure hardly get the time to monitor their kids? Dr. Alalade, did you get that?
Yes, sir, I got it, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for the comments and thank you for the question. For parents, we just have to decide and pick our struggles and see how we can balance everything. Parenting is a skill. Parenting is something that has to be intentional and one has to really like work it out. I know there are economic pressures trying to make ends meet, but at the same time, what's the point when ends are met and the children are spoiled? So one has to find a very good balance and push oneself beyond the bounds, normal bounds. Now, what can be done? The values they get right from growing up matters a lot, and the discipline already instilled in them. The level of communication and being friends to the child makes things better, wherein the child can say anything and everything that happens to him or her. So when we first create that effective communication strategy with the child right from childhood and make them our friend, it makes things fine. And I've seen a lot of families in which you just say, oh, my daughter told me this happened, my daughter said this. And from there, they were able to stem different bad behaviors. So it's very important, effective communication. Number two, the values, like I mentioned, the values we decide to imbibe in them and ensure they have those core values, respect, core values of life and put it in them. Number three, we decide what we want in terms of social media. There are a lot of controls that can be put there on social media. In fact, it was one other student of mine that I was seeing that told me that her mom has put so many control on her computer device so that whatever she's doing on the computer, her mom can see it. And her mom can but I know IT people can do anything with the system. And so you could also monitor. You could have number of hours there, see what the person, the mom just picked her phone and checked her history of the number of sites she had gone. Why are you going to this? Why are you doing this and doing that? So we must be intentional about it. Have the timing of when they should drop their phone, how many hours to spend, and just look through all those things so that when we now create all those avenues, because we may not be able to stop them from using phones. Nowadays, a lot of schools are tech driven, so to speak, some assignments, some days, site the website, do this and that, but we must be present. When we are present, at least it could stem it reasonably, communicate well, and put a lot of parental controls on some of these things. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much there, Dr. Alade. I believe that put it succinctly, and that satisfies Enoch there. I have another one from Clara, but then before I go to Clara, we have Dr. Abdullahi and Ahmad ready. So let's have Dr. Abdullahi first. Dr. Abdullahi, please go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Wafami, and good evening to our listeners. Good evening, Dr. Lalade. Actually, mine is just a commendation. In fact, my day was really busy, but when I saw that it was Lalade will be giving us this talk, I've known him over the years. He's a colleague, a good friend. I didn't want to miss it, and I'm happy that I did squeeze time to join and listen. Uh, there's always something about Dr. Adelade. He keep you very glued and very interesting in whatever he is talking about. I'm really happy that I joined this discussion. Thank you very much, and I hope others who found time to join this discussion also feel the way I actually feel. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Dr. Abdullah. Thank you very much. Very engaging indeed. But I think Dr. Alalade spent more than the time allotted, but I couldn't just stop him because it was very engaging. Thank you once again, Dr. Abdullah, and thank you, Dr. Alalade. Okay, let's have one pen. That's Ahmad. Please go ahead. One pen. Okay, if Ahmad is not ready, let me quickly go to Clara. Let's take. We have quite a lot in idea. I don't know if we can cover all of this, but let me rush over this. Clara. Okay, Clara is also thanking Dr. Lalade for that beautiful presentation. My question is: you mentioned punishment from senior students and teachers to junior students is tantamount to bullying. How then do school authorities maintain discipline in schools if punishment is regarded as bullying? That's from Clara, Dr. Lalade.
Okay, thank you very much, Clara, for the question. You see, when we say punishment, when you want to punish a child, you let the child know why he's being punished and then tell the child the right thing you expect from the child. But when you don't do this and you are just punishing for the sake of enjoyment or for the sake of your mood, and it doesn't warrant that, then that's bullying. So when I mentioned it in schools, for instance, I used boarding house back then. I don't know, or I don't think it happens now, in which because you are in SS3 and a senior in boarding house, A junior just resumes GS1 today and you say, go and fetch all this water, cut this grass, you are doing this way, you must not sleep until I sleep, you must not do this. That's bullying already. It's no longer punishment because the person didn't do anything. So punishment in itself is not a problem. But we must learn how to punish in such a way that we are correcting to improve behavior and not just like our mood, or we are using it as a form of bullying or as a form of trying to deprive someone when there is no reason to do that. Again, from the definition of bullying, is repeated, is persistent, you make the person feel like a victim, and there is a form of aggression with it. If all these things are not there, and if we manage our correction tactics, because there's no way a child will make an error, there's no way mistakes won't be done. But if we do it in that mind of love and in that mind of I'm making this person better, then that's not a problem. It's not bullying.
All right, thank you there, Dr. Alalade. Let's take this one from Abdul Malik. Abdul Malik, I enjoyed our guest speaker. Thank you for your lecture and the presentation. You said religiosity can prevent bullying or emplace morals, but we have seen in many families where the parents are religious leaders while their children have zero morals or are direct opposite of what their parents stand for. How do you reconcile this? Please.
Okay,
Please.
thank you very much for the questions, Mr. Abdul Malik. Now, religiosity teaches values and teaches what each religion teach what they believe in to mean the way you should behave. And the aim of all of these things is to be better individuals. I'm not sure, I don't think, based on my knowledge, that any religion encourages bullying. And so that is why I said religion in itself, so those that come from a family that is highly religious sometimes could prevent bullying. But we must know that religion is personal. The mere fact that our parents say you should be, if the individual chooses not to follow it, it doesn't mean the religion in itself was the problem. So we are a mix of everything. Our gene, the religion, the environment, everything comes into play. So some bullying could be based on, yes, we are religious, but I'm seeing a different thing in my environment. So, but if we follow strictly religion in itself, it has some form of protective measure in teaching the right values, regardless of which religion, to ensure that bullying is not perpetrated by an individual. Imbibing it is now dependent on each individual and how they want to express it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Alalade. One pen, are you ready, Ahmad? Otherwise, I'll go to idea. Okay, let me go back to.
Yes, I'm.
Okay, one pen. Okay, please go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. Am I audible enough?
You are very loud. Please go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. To the speaker, to the guest speaker, kudos and well done. Mine personally is always to actually, anytime topics like this are being presented, mine is just to reflect and actually speak from my own experience. I'm not an expert. I'm not. Yes, I'm not an expert. So, but of course, whatever I want to say, I like to say it from the angle of my own personal experience. And of course, I remember vividly, at both stages of my both secondary school and in university, I've personally seen how how bullying drives a lot of people into dependence on substance, and there's always that feeling of trying to feel among, trying to understand some certain things that you ought not to understand, So it's a very sensitive issue, and I think for me we should there are two things I always like to encourage, and one is actually we should encourage speaking out. We should encourage people to relay what the issue is, what the problems are, and again, another thing that I like to always tell people, speak, or whenever I have the opportunity, is that it's important that we hammer a lot on the issue of stigmatization. It's actually very, very important. So with that, I just want to say thank you very much, Mr. Femi. Thank you for the opportunity. God bless.
All right, thank you there. I believe that also in agreement with the presentation by Dr. Alalade, so we may have to skip his response on that. Let's take the next question from Kunle. Kunle is asking what do you advise? Okay, it's asking Dr. Alalade, what do you advise students who face bullying do as a coping mechanism, especially when they don't have available parents who they can talk to without resorting to drugs? Okay, that's from Kunle. Dr. Alalade, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kunle, for the question. So when a child faces bullying or is being bullied and do not have present parents to be able to speak to, and the child also does not want to get involved with substance abuse, that's a very good one by the child. So that means the child kind of knows this is not good enough. Usually, there's almost always someone around that the person can speak to, either a good friend, depending on the age of the child, or an elderly person around that person could work with, or the teacher, or somebody can feel a bit more comfortable to have a discussion with, or a school counselor. So is to seek help with some of these people to then help manage the bullying is being faced, because the parents, who are meant to be like the first point of contact, if they are very present and open to communication, are not there. So it's just to seek counsel with some other people that can serve as this. And if we have schools that have a lot of school counselors, or have some anti-bullying mechanisms in place, that's also a safe place for the child. But like I said, it gives me an impression that the child has some level of understanding or good value, so to speak, to know that substance use is not the best form. However, if the child does not quickly seek help, the defenses may break down over time and may now seek solace in substance use. So you can seek help with any of all these elderly people or these people that I mentioned, so that we can quickly manage as soon as possible. Thank you.
All right, I believe that to satisfy Kunle there. Thank you again, Dr. Alalade. Let's take the question or contribution from Jimmy Nasir. Jimmy Nasir. Nasir. Okay, if Jimmy is not ready, I guess he's struggling with his network there. Okay, let's take this one from Black Negro. Black Negro is asking Dr. Alalade, neglect. Dr. Alalade said neglecting alternative source of pleasure. What are these alternatives that will stabilize one or give same results as the substances of choice? Interesting. All right, Dr. Alalade, you had the Black Negro there.
Okay, thank you very much, Black Negro, for the question. So, saying neglecting alternate source of interest is one of what we call dependence criteria in addiction. Someone that is dependent would neglect every other thing, and his priority is the substance. So, I've managed university students who will tell you we don't attend lectures, we don't even go out, we even forget to shower, we are just there smoking all through. And eating is even something they just have to get something inside and continue smoking. So every other thing that is meaningful, some people will even forget to go to work if they are working already, because of substance use. So some forget appointments, miss appointments, because they're already fully dependent on the substance. So when we say neglect alternate source of interest, we are referring to every other thing that is important in the person's life. So you are meant to be in the hospital. They're asking you to bring money for your child's illness, but you are really dependent on a substance that you forgot that your child is in the sick bed and they are waiting for. So a lot of other important things being neglected. That's what we mean by that. But to now also help whoever is dependent and say other sources of interest. Now, when one is dependent on a substance, part of management is to look for especially if the person is interested in quitting, is to look for other things that can take up that time, other important things that can be more productive. So you say, oh, I really feel to smoke now. Okay, can you quickly go to the gym? Maybe by the time you go to the gym and then you carry out some exercises, the urge to smoke goes down and you get better. Or some people, can you play PS5 with your friend and it gets better? Or you have an accountability partner that say, hey, bro, some more, the thing they do me, oh, I need to get a drug. Okay, don't get it. Because the person knows that you are fighting the dependence and you are trying to see how to quit. So those are part of the ways we try to see other things the person can get involved with. But in the strict sense of what I mentioned earlier, that's in relation to the dependence criteria. Thank you.
All right, thank you there, Dr. Alalade. Believe your response would have taken care of Black Negro's question. Okay, let's have this from, I'm trying to skip as many that you must have covered in the course of your presentation or even other your responses to other questions. Okay, let me take this one from okay is asking. I really appreciate what our guest speaker has done today. That's very brilliant. But please, I would like to ask him, what role do school counselors play in preventing and addressing bullying and substance abuse? Because how would people put in place or establish schools or institutions without counseling units? Please help me ask the guest speaker. All right, the guest speaker is hearing. Thank you. Okay. Please go ahead, Dr. Lalade.
Okay, thank you very much, okay, for the question. Every school has their different setup, and probably in different states, they have what is expected from different schools. So if school counselor is also part of it, is something very important. And a counselor is a trained person, trained to be able to address different issues, not just somebody that just woke up and say I can advise somebody. No, it's a school counselor who has skills in different issues. And I've seen schools where school counselors have played a very big role in stemming different problems. In fact, there was this girl of 13-year-old I saw not too long ago that she just had to present to the school counselor to say she's having some suicidal thoughts and having some depressive related symptoms. She didn't even tell her parents. It was the school's counselor she opened up to. So yes, school counseling is good. If you have a school who takes it very seriously, and it helps to prevent bullying and address it as soon as possible. So it's about strengthening it, making it available, encouraging the students to present there, knowing fully well that they would remain anonymous as much as possible. And once you have 1, 2 cases addressed in a very good way, it makes things better. Most times, a counselor is meant to be non judgmental. So when you just have it, you listen to all those things, you address it discreetly, more people will come up, more people will open up. So it's about policies, it's about what the government has instituted for different schools or what they've made necessity to say every school should have this or that. But I encourage a lot of schools, yes, to have a counseling unit because as much as they are learning academically, they also need some form of support or guide as much as possible. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you there, Dr. Lalade. I have this one, like 2 in 1 from Janet. Janet is asking, how will Dr. Alalade help create a meeting point between parents and parents and educators, a meeting point to collaborate to reduce the rates of bullying and substance abuse in our schools? My second question is, how does early intervention in cases of bullying, violence, or substance abuse improve students' mental health outcomes? Over to you, Dr. Lalade.
Okay, thank you very much, Janet, for the question. I think a lot of schools already have what they call parent teachers forum, parent teachers conferencing, and that's an avenue for them to share different concerns or different things they are observing, either from the students or what the parents are also observing at home. And I think that's a very good avenue or forum for them to really address different issues. So I think that's already established, and each school is just meant to take it up from there and have their own anti-bullying documents or policies. In terms of early intervention, we all know that for every illness, every physical, mental illness, early intervention is key. Yes, for a physical illness like a cancer, if it's targeted or gotten at stage 1, it's better than when it gets to stage 4. Same as mental illnesses or substance use. If, for instance, all I know is cigarette or alcohol, it's better I quickly work on that before it graduates to marijuana, tramadol, retinol, and other substances. So a good number of time, or more often than not, rather, early intervention is key in managing anything. There are things that some people are yet to learn in substance. I learn a lot from my clients, from my patients when I speak to them, and I'll discover that this person is telling me something new about this same substance. And if you quickly catch someone, he may not know the new thing in town. So early intervention is just key in preventing deterioration, in preventing it coming worse. And when you allow it to delay so much, the making recovery becomes something that is more difficult. So yes, it is key, it is available, and that's the best option. The best option is abstinence though, but when it happens, early intervention is also a secondary prevention or a form of prevention. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lalade. I'm trying to run as fast as possible so that we can cover all of these questions. I have Comfort here. Comfort is asking, okay, thank you to our guest speaker. A really enlightening session. Please, I would like to ask, what signs can teachers and parents look out for to identify students who may be experiencing bullying or physical violence? Okay, over to you, Dr. Lalade.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I mentioned something about it a bit earlier. So, number one must be very observant. My son comes home and I see that his head is swollen. I should not write it off to say why is his head swollen, or maybe he played in school. I should not assume that it's just the play. It could be something more than the play. Ask questions. So a lot of observation is needed by the parent, and that can only be done if one is a present parent who knows what goes on and know the changes. This is how we went, this is how it's coming back, there is a change. Other signs, like I mentioned, there could be ripped clothing, the clothing is rough, is torn, is not the way it's supposed to be. Why is your clothes like this? The child is refusing to go to school the following day, or is giving excuses. Oh, mommy, I have an headache, the headache that was not present before. Or mommy, I'll go to school tomorrow. Why is there an hesitation to go to school? Or he's crying, I don't want to. Why is he crying? This child doesn't behave this way. Or wakes up suddenly from sleep with nightmares, being afraid, and tell you to hug me or say, mommy, something, I'm afraid, I have a bad dream. That could be a pointer to say, why do we have this? Or for some people, they may not be able to sleep. They just have insomnia, just rolling on the bed. Why is my son not sleeping? Maybe he's recounting the experience and is afraid. Some could also have decreased appetite. They're not eating well. And it could, like I mentioned, bullying could also lead to depression. Either if someone is already predisposed to it before, the person is not interested in things, just wants to stay by himself. Or sometimes it could be anxiety symptoms, is worried, is afraid. These things could be pointers to want to further explore why the child is being like that. In school too, the principal, the students, everybody can just be each other's brother's keeper. So you're just observing this person is not doing well academically again, and he has been doing very well before. Why is there a drop? You won't just put it as this boy is not serious this time. Why is he not serious? Why do we have this drop in his academics? That could be a pointer to some element of bullying. So all these things could help. They could be possible signs of a child being bullied. Thank you.
All right, thank you again, Dr. Lalade. We have a few minutes left to go to wrap up the whole thing, the conversation today. Let me take this one from Chioma. Chioma okay, she's expressing her appreciation for Dr. Lalade, but then she's asking, you mentioned absence of mentorship in schools. Who do we blame? Parents, teachers, or proprietors? And why are we where we are now? And how do we go back to the old days of growing up with good role models? Thank you. Please
Yeah,
go
who
ahead,
do we
Dr.
blame?
I'm also asking, who do we blame? Okay, mentorship is key, right? Mentorship is also very important, and mentorship starts from the home because we are children's mentor. We are their first mentors, right? And so whatever we do at home, they imbibe it, they follow it, and they may believe that's the right way to handle issues. So we must be very careful and ensure we teach them the right thing while growing up. We must not always leave our responsibilities to others to do. That's very key. Now, when they get to school too, yes, I know there are schools that will just aggregate like 5 students and say, this teacher is your mentor. And mentorship could be teachers to students, it could be students to students. There's nothing I remembered back then in school, in boarding house, you will say, oh, this is my school daughter. Because you are in SS2 and you have a school daughter in GS3 and that's my school daughter. It's a form of mentorship if it is well channeled in terms of good values. So you keep producing mentors because if you have so many students, you alone or a group of teachers may not handle everything. But when you train, oh, why do I have a head girl? Why do we have prefects in school? Okay, you are now prefects. No problem in giving them some form of leadership training. And then you say, okay, you also have some other students underneath you. And from there, everybody starts learning the right thing. But we must first create that culture. We must not be too busy to see it as something very important, to see it as values that has to be driven inside of students as they keep growing up. So mentorship is a continuous thing and it keeps going on from one phase to the other. So who do we blame? We blame ourselves, we blame the parents, we blame those that all just think that the students or the teachers in school should be the only one mentoring their children when they are also not playing their own role as parents. So everybody, all hands had to be on deck in terms of mentorship of students at different points in time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lalade. There, I have this one from Wale. Wale is saying, "Thank you our guest speaker. I've gained much today. Now, I would like to say the lack of consequences for offenders has entrenched this culture of bullying and violence in school, and the consequence of that has destroyed a lot of lives, either through drug abuse or mental health issues. What would our guest speaker recommend to government and school authorities to address the weakness in our system in this regard?" Okay, that's from Wale. Dr. Lalade, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Wally, for the comment. Yes, you are right. When there are consequences to inappropriate behavior or action, and in this case, bullying, it helps to serve as deterrent to other people to ensure that they don't repeat it. The number one thing is everybody should be open enough to know that it's a problem, and we should mete out punishments that are appropriate without fear or favor. Now, when we have students resuming school and everybody knows the do's and don'ts, the rules, the regulations, the consequences for different actions, then we should apply the rules whenever it needs to be applied. So the situation in which a rich man's kid bullies someone who is of a lesser socioeconomic status, and then because that person contributes a lot to the school, you can't punish appropriately or you have to bend the law, then that's where the problem starts from. But if we have institutions or schools that can apply the law as it is, then everybody knows, oh, for them to punish that person, who are you? They will punish you. So don't bully someone else. So we have to enforce, we have to implement, we have to do it according to the books or according to what we plan. And I also think that over time, those who are either former bullies, so to speak, can come out to talk about it. You know, when you have some people share their experiences or share what happened to them before or how they were before and now being a changed person, it helps to encourage some other people to also say, oh, wow, I can do this, I can do that. But consequence is key to serve as deterrent. However, it has to applied without fear or favor to everybody involved. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you too, Dr. Alalade. Let's have this one from Victoria. Victoria is asking, how can schools implement mental health programs to reduce bullying and violence in the school environment? This is very important. I will appreciate um, our guest speaker's response to this. Yes, he's right. He's still here to respond. Please go ahead, Dr. Lalande.
Okay, thank you very much, Victoria. Schools can always implement it, and we need them to come on board to implement it. I mentioned earlier in the presentation that I appreciate what NDLA is doing, trying to raise awareness in different schools about substance use and abuse. This can also be done in relation to mental health. And so when the awareness is raised in different institutions, then from there you can now form different clubs where they now, you know, the way we have debating society, engineering club, jet club, and everything. We could have an anti-bullying club where you have a president, where they come up with lectures and topics, you know. You could have debates within the school or inter-school competition where they are talking about these things, firing on all cylinders, you know. All these things will stimulate and children will grow up to understand these things better. So yes, I believe our schools can collaborate. They can talk more about these assemblies, you know, form a open door policy, and from there everybody will understand bullying better, will know how it affects mental health, and then prevent them from going into drug abuse or substance use. So I think schools have a very major role to play, but it depends on where their direction is and how important they see this as. So we just have to inform them, improve the awareness, start training and retraining the teachers, and over time the students, and then these things can become better over there. It's very important. I acknowledge it, and I know a lot of us at different levels are doing this. We just have to increase it. We just have to make it in a bigger platform, a lot of more NGOs, a lot of more government involvement to ensure that this becomes a continuous discussion and a normal conversation in our schools. Thank you.
All right, thank you there, Dr. Lalade. Let's quickly take this. This may be the last or second to the last question. This one is coming from Farouk. Farouk said, as a parent, my daughter has been asking for change of her school, but has failed to justify that request. But listening to our guest speaker today, something is telling me that her request may be as a result of some bullying, and she is scared of telling me or being open to me. What does our guest speaker think or advise in this regard? All right. Please go ahead, Dr. Lalade. This is a personal one from Farouk.
Yes, thank you very much, Farouk, for the question. Um, that observation should not be taken lightly by your daughter, especially if it's not something that comes from her naturally. You know the way your daughter is. And so she persistently saying it, you need to find out. Well, for some people, it could be because maybe their friends have left the school and they also want to leave the school because their friends are no longer there. You know, I've seen students that a lot of them drifted to another school like sometimes primary school to secondary school. So a lot of the primary school friends went to another school and they are in a different school, and then they keep saying, "Oh, daddy, I don't want this school." So you must explore further. What are the reasons, or what is the reason? It may not be bullying, and it may be bullying. But when you do that, that's when you'll be able to know. Because just changing school without knowing the reason, and that means your daughter can also say it after changing her school to say she wants to leave the new school again after a short while. So I think you should explore more. You can go to the school. A lot of teachers always know what happens, like if they are really observant as expected, to be able to tell you. You can speak with their friends. That's why I mentioned effective communication between parents and their children, knowing their friend groups, to be able to ask one or two questions, and you must also sit your daughter down in a playful way, that okay, don't worry, not a problem changing your school, but tell me why. Just justify it. Okay, somebody do. You could give examples and you say, "I'm not beating you. I will not punish you. I just want to know. I love you. You must." I tell people when they come for therapy or when we have sessions, I may not even get the information on the first time they are coming. But when you gain their confidence, when you show that you really want to listen and you are non-judgmental, over time you get a lot of information from them. So you must be patient enough. It is not a thing of just a 2 minute talk and then, "Oh, you are not talking, I'm going." Create that friendship, and over time you will know, while also speaking to them in the school to really know what the problems are. Also be observant of other signs. Aside from saying she just wants to go to the school, are there other things you are seeing in her? Is there a drop in academics? Is she refusing to eat? Different other things. And if it's difficult for her to talk, I've seen a lot of times in which parents bring their children to meet me because they are not talking to them, and I will get a lot of information. So seeking the help of a professional may not be a bad idea. Seeing a therapist is not equating it to having mental, if I can speak that way. It may just be, "I just want to talk." So you could seek a professional to help speak to your daughter to make things better. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lalande. Okay, I think I'm seeing this one. Okay, Farouk is sending a follow up. Thank you. After this one from Farouk, Dr. Alalade will prepare to give his closing remarks. But let me take this follow up from Farouk. Farouk is saying, "Thank you, Dr. Alalade. My daughter simply says teachers and senior students are hostile to her, but I have not seen this because I do go for open day. That's why I am a bit confused. I still need you to look at the issue of this hostility, but which I don't see during their open day." Okay, please go ahead,
Okay,
Dr.
sir.
Lalade.
Thank you. Thank you, Farouk, for the follow up. For children, right? Their symptoms or how they explain things are quite different from we adults. So we need to know a term of hostility. What does she mean? Again, what you might take, some other person might not take it. So maybe somebody just shoves her away, or just push her, or just snubs her. She may take it as hostility, and you will feel like, he's not talking to you, then don't talk to her, talk to another person. All of us have different ways we handle issues, and things get to us differently. So we must be able to define our own. What is hostility to you? Give me examples. What do you? So you may go to the open day or the teachers' PTA meeting and not see anything. It may not even happen on that day because it may have days in which it happens. It may even be something that happens when she goes to the bathroom and somebody just gets hostile to her based on her own definition. So you may not see it in the open. So we need to spend more time to get clarity, to get examples, and then dig deeper to know what is happening. Because when children start making comments and they are persistent on it, we should not just take it with levity. If they see that we are not doing anything about it, over time they will just shut up and then look for other ways to sort themselves out. Thank you, sir. And well done to you, sir. I know you'll get to the root of this very soon, sir. Well done, sir, for the observation.
All right, thank you there, Dr. Lalade. You may now go ahead and make your closing remarks. We're just 3 minutes away from the hour. Please go ahead with your closing remarks. We do appreciate you.
Okay, thank you very much to NDLA for inviting me to talk. We spoke on mental health, understanding bullying, physical violence in schools, in relation to drug abuse. I believe we've learned one or two things. Bullying is present, bullying is real, and it could be one of the needles or cause to drug use. Let us be more present as parents. Let's address this bullying issue as soon as we see it. And if there is a need for to get help, let us not be shy to receive the help that we need, even as we stem this issue of bullying. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate
All
it.
right. Thank you very much, Dr. Batomi Alalade. He is a consultant psychiatrist at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos, popularly called Yaba Left. Indeed, I have no doubt that indeed, from all the comments I'm reading online, Dr. Alalade had indeed given a good account of himself and his wealth of experience, his education. That much had come from a regular member of this platform. That's Dr. Abdullahi. I'm glad Dr. Abdullahi came up to testify to the capacity and capability of Dr. Alalade. Indeed, he had confirmed and proven that excellently well. Dr. Abdullahi, no wonder Dr. Alalade had received several awards, including those from Lagos State government. And it's also interesting that Dr. Alalade is married to Dr. Alalade himself is an adult, is into adult psychiatry, while the wife is into psychiatry. We do hope that their beautiful children would someday also grow up into the field of medicine. It looks pretty much like that. We'll have to thank and appreciate Dr. Batumelalade for spending the last 2 hours with us. We're grateful, and we thank everyone that has been part of this conversation, those who joined us from across Nigeria, the northeast, the northwest, north central, southeast, and southwest of Nigeria. We appreciate, and the rest of our compatriots across Africa, especially Dr. Loretta, who joins us from the US, Dr. Prince Eshimokai, who joins from Asia, and all of those who join us from across Europe. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for always coming around to listen to this and to share this with others who are not physically present at this time on this space. We appreciate all of those who join us on YouTube and on Facebook. Thank you very much for taking the time to be part of this conversation today. Next week will come your way again. It's Friday, as we often say. Yes, thank God it's Friday, but then don't take the liberty of the weekend to go into things that you may regret later. Let's do things in moderation. From my end, I'd like to say a beautiful weekend to us. We'll see next week by the grace of Almighty. Same time, Friday, 3 p.m. We'll bring another topic, and then we'll continue to expand the scope of the conversation and extend the frontiers of our network. Bye-bye from here. Over to you, Mahmoud.
Thank you very much, sir, Mr. Femba Femi, for guiding us throughout today's discussion on bullying, physical violence in schools. For more information about NDLA, our listeners can visit our website www.ndla.gov.ng. Our social media platforms still remain at NDLA_Nigeria on X, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. On Facebook, it is at NDLA See you next time. See you next time. Same time, 3 p.m. next Friday for another edition of this wonderful program. I remain Mahmoud Isayola. Bye bye.
Hello, doctor. Can I get the tramadol for the road? Body they bend me over. To make I check your body, then I will tell you what you need. Hello, doctor. I know it's the way to. I know it's the way to. Way to make I check your body, then I go tell you what you need. Hello, doctor. No need to check me. I'm not saying I'm waiting my body needs. Is it your body? I feel it. I don't be well. Hello, doctor. You see, I am coming. I need to deal with the coming. Way to make high check. I don't be too late. Way to you be. Give me cannabis. Sexy me.